Hey, YouTube, Repo Man 64. Let's see here. How do I do this? All right. I found something and I want to bring it to you for all the mathematicians out there. We believed, a lot of us did, that there's two dates really that we think primarily that we will go home on the day of the rapture. There are those who say it has to fall on the Feast of Trumpets. There are those others that say it has to fall on Pentecost, exactly 7 years prior to the end of the 7 year tribulation, which is Pentecost this year. On my timeline, that has passed, or did it? Noah was on the ark for 1 year and 10 days. Why the extra 10 days? I put it down. He went in Heshvan 17. He came off on Heshvan 27. What's the point of the extra 10 days? I figured something happened during the flood where he shifted the North Pole from Ursa Major to Ursa Minor. And when he did that, spring was no longer in September, it was in March. And he very well could have done that. But it also says that, now, and remember that Adam was in the garden for a full 7 years. And then in the second month and 17th day, yes, the same day the flood occurred, he sinned. Then the what I found, if it's credible, it says that he was removed on the first day of the fourth month. So he was in the garden for 7 years. He sinned 47 days into the eighth year. He was removed from the garden 47 days after he sinned on the first day of the fourth month. So we have Noah. He's on the ark. He has to spend a full year on there, but he spends a year and 10 days. So this 10-day theme keeps coming up, and I have several examples of these 10 days. Why is it? And this is like etched in stone. This can't be changed. The day of equal parts is always March 16th. It has been since creation. It will be at the end of the 1,000 years. I can go forward only 600 years in time and date and see that, in fact, 600 years from now, it's still March 16th. It never moves. The equinox, not so much. It bounces around by 6 hours, 12 hours. It bounces around quite a bit. You can't really start anything on that day if you want to have a concrete day. Really, the only day you can start on is the equinox. But then I've been grappling with this since I found it years ago. Why did God have the next day of equal parts, which happens in September, happen 10 days after the Feast of Trumpets? It happens on the 25th, 26th. Why? It made no sense to me. I'm like, so you have 6 months and 10 days and 5 months and 20 days on the other side. I don't understand the concept. Then we read in Leviticus 25:8, I'm going to show you all that, where in a Jubilee year, everything, trumpets moves forward 10 days and it goes to atonement. And that's where I stopped. I stopped right there. I said, okay, it moves 10 days. But what if, and we're in a Jubilee year, it started on the Day of Atonement in 2023, and it's going to go until trumpets in 2024. We're in the Jubilee year. When Adam was created, we are currently, this year, he was created on September the 17th. I'll show you that here in a moment. No, the 16th, September the 16th. He was created on the sixth day. Creation began on September the 11th. September the 11th is when God created all the angels, the light. Didn't create the sun yet. He didn't do that until Wednesday or the fourth day. That's when he created time. The angels cannot live outside of heaven. So God made heaven. Do you understand? I don't think we really do. How immense God is. He exists outside of heaven and earth. He always was, and he always will be. He doesn't need, but he restricted himself. He did that when he came here to on December the 25th to go into the womb of Mary and to be born on September the 30th. He limited himself for the love of us. I just made that video yesterday. I've been a little ill. I've got a few issues going on. And as a matter of fact, it's really hard to stand here, but I'm going to do it anyway because I really need to get this out. So he limits himself. Now he's not limited. God still is eternal and everywhere, including outside of space, time, earth, and heaven. When were the angels created? They were created on the first day. They are the light that was created. And in that light was darkness and light. Satan was included in there. When did Satan sin? Satan sinned from the very beginning. From the very beginning, the Bible says he was a liar. God created him one of the greatest angels. And in that pride, he thought that he could promote himself above God. The problem is, humans are like that too. Can you imagine if God just said, I'm tired of you all, I'm just shutting off the oxygen. Let's see how far we get. The same thing with heaven. All he has to do is shut heaven down. There's no angels. They have to exist inside of heaven. They were created on September the 11th, the first day. Satan fell almost immediately, and he caused mankind to fall 7 years, 47 days later. Now, there are two Jubilees running in tandem. That's why, and God, of course, he organized all this. He knew all of this in advance. So that first from creation until now leaves everything out. Even the angels it leaves out. And that's the Jubilee from the moment of creation, September the 11th, to, or trumpets, or whatever date we assign to it, which I think is probably trumpets, but because that would be the first day when he creates time. He creates time on the fourth day, and on the fifth day is the day that he's able to create animals. You can't create animals until there's time. We cannot exist currently in our current state outside of time, space, and matter. We have to exist within that. So all of that had to have been created previous to us being created. All that makes sense. I'm going to continue forward. Now, so here we are. And we try to assign Jesus' birthday as the first day of creation on September the 11th. No, he created everything. We try to assign him as being born on trumpets. No, the Bible is very clear. He came and tabernacled with us. The Feast of Tabernacles on September the 30th. That's it. September the 30th is the day he was born. Night of the 29th is where the math works out to. And on the 30th, because it was after dark, is when Jesus was born, on Tabernacles. Now, in a Jubilee year, again, counting from creation, not from Adam's fall. Think about it. From Adam's fall, you count, that's the end of the tribulation. Those 7 years that Adam spent in the garden are the good years, but there's going to be 7 bad years from one Jubilee to another Jubilee. It's happening now, or we're in it now, and it's going to happen again. It's going to begin in 30 and end in 31. All right. So 2 Jubilees running in tandem, side by side, 7 years apart. And Jesus came to tabernacle with us. But what happens in a Jubilee year? Trumpets. And we worked on this at that time because we thought that was it. Look, I think every date that I find is it. So far, it hasn't been it. That's trying to attack me. She's a ferocious lion. The mighty, mighty Tickster. And I thought, this is it. I have delayed and put off an immense amount of things in my life. because I thought this was it. And I still believe that this is it. And it is going to happen. There's no doubt this event's going to take place. We're searching for the correct combination of events to say, yes, we have figured it out. Now, many of the dates that they've come up with, I've come up with, are really good qualifiers for the rapture. But it didn't happen because we're dialing in that combination. And as we dial it in, we have to pass numbers and pass other numbers and pass other numbers. And think about a combination lock that's not 3 or 4 numbers, it's 187 numbers. It's a lot of numbers, 153 numbers. Let's use that number. And so how many times you have to pass? And what if you make a mistake? You got to go back and recalibrate and restart, figure out where you're supposed to be. And that's what we do. No man knows the day or the hour is a lie. And I will tell you why. Amos 3:7. That's all I have to say. Amos 3:7 is all I have to say. Does it contradict the Bible? If there's a passage that says you can't know, and there's a passage that says you will know, does it contradict? No, because you have to ask yourself, who will know and who will not know? There is a group of people that will not know. They refuse to look and watch, and they love that Matthew 24:36. I've even heard some very large channels say we'll never figure it out. That's simply not true. In the end, it will speak and it will tell us. All right, I'm going to get into when I think it is. And it's right around the corner. And if we pass it, we're going to keep doing math and try to figure it out. But I found something that it hadn't dawned on me until I was, well, kind of incapacitated today. I'm surprised, I'm kind of shaky, but out here in the secret broadcast cave, bringing you this because I need to. I have to bring this to you. And out there, I'm hoping somebody, another body, another piece of the puzzle can come together to see this and understand this. All right, I'm going to share the screen. All right, let's see here. Yes. All right. All right, let me put on my glasses so that I can see. Oh my, they're dirty. My glasses are really dirty. Hold on. All right. In a Jubilee year, and I'll show you the passage right here, September the 15th, Tishri 1 is Feast of Trumpets. It is not Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah simply means head of the year, and that was moved. And when the Bible, Leviticus 23, is talking about setting up the feast days, Feast of Trumpets is mentioned, and it says it's in the 7th month. It cannot be Rosh Hashanah because that's what it means. It means first day of the year. And we know that trumpets is on the 7th month of the year. So in a Jubilee year, these 10 days of awe, nobody really knows what it means or what it's for. Except that in a Jubilee year, you move trumpets over here to Pentecost, the 3rd Pentecost, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. So we have a 10-day move of trumpets to Day of Atonement. And then we have Jesus born on tabernacles. If I recall, somebody had a pretty good video on the fact that tabernacles moves back 5 days. Now, when Jesus was tempted, and I just thought of this, incredible actually, Jesus was baptized in 26 AD. Both Jesus and Moses were fasting. You can find this in Haggai 1:1. He begins his temptation here on the first day of Elul, which is August 15th, and he is tempted for 40 days. The Bible records that he was about 30 years old when he began his ministry. We are 5 days away from his birth. I'm sorry. Yeah, from his birth, from his birthday, same birthday, from his birthday. He is about 30 years old. He is 5 days shy of 30 years old. But what if And I don't know. I really don't know. 26 AD would be, what would that be? 2026 or in 2024? It really wouldn't match. If that were a Jubilee year, that wouldn't match at all, but it would bring Jesus' birth on tabernacles back here. So these 15 days would come together here on the third Pentecost, which is the Day of Atonement. So I tell myself, I'm sitting there studying, and I'm like, what am I missing? What am I missing? Every single date that I have found, the day Jesus was named and circumcised, which just happens to be when Israel was attacked. They were attacked at 6 a.m. Throughout that day, by nightfall, it becomes October the 8th, the day Jesus was named and circumcised. It's a very big event. You were born, but you really aren't. There's something about having to last those 8 days you're not named. You don't have a name. And when did he get his name? He got his name here on the last day of Tabernacles, 8 days later. Okay, so Israel's attacked, and I'm going to show you some more map that points to this date right here, June 16th. Now, I simply said, all right, well, trumpets moves forward 10 days. Boom, that's it. This looks like a good rapture day, and we're going home. I think we're going home. We didn't go home. But what if I misunderstood what I'm reading in Leviticus? What if everything moves 10 days? What if that's why down here on September the 25th, on the Day of Atonement, is also the Day of Equal Parts? Remember, the Day of Equal Parts happens on March 16th, and again on September 25th and 26th, right here. That carries those extra 10 days. Noah was on the ark for 1 year and 10 days. And we've heard really good arguments that, and I always said, well, they say the flood began on, I say the flood began the night of October the 31st, November the 1st, and many have said, nope, November the 11th. Remember, I have this date wrong. 239 days from the head of the year of March 17th is actually November the 11th. I got to fix that. But November the 11th. How many people said, nope, the flood was November the 11th? 11/11. We've all seen 11/11. That's when the flood was. But what if it is in a Jubilee year, these 10 days, move the flood 10 days? Now, that might explain why he was on. I asked so many times, why was he on the ark for a year and 10 days? Why? What if we're supposed to move everything by 10 days? The argument that Pentecost is the day we go home, and that it's the perfect day since the Holy Spirit was given. But in a Jubilee year, wouldn't Pentecost move here to June 15th, June 16th? The very same day that the tops of the mountains were seen by Noah. How many days is it from this point? And I had already put it on here. I didn't know what it meant, but I had already noticed that from the day Noah sees the tops of the mountains on Tammuz 1, the Bible records, it was Tammuz, I think it was the 10th month and the first day. Actually, I can go look without, let's see, Tammuz, where's Tammuz for Noah? Yeah, 10th month for Noah, equivalent to Tevet for us. So Tammuz 1, Tevet, oh, there it is, Tevet. So right there, 10 days it moves, right? June 5th, June 16th. This is now from this date to this date, the 9th of Av, you have 40 days. Many are seeing that Tisha B'Av is something super important. My friend Spinebreaker is looking at the 9th of Av as being something significant. I have the barley in the wrong place. I need to move it back over here to the first Pentecost. Wheat's actually the second Pentecost, and oil and wine is the third Pentecost. And I've counted each Pentecost I've showed you before, 50 and 7 days, 50 and 7 days, 50 and 7 days. Because there's, and Will over at Worship and Watch has found that we were like, well, there's 3 harvests. parts of a harvest. There's the first fruits, there's the main harvest, and there's the corners, the edges, the gleanings. But he is arguing that maybe there are 3 parts to each part. So in essence, there are 9 in all, not 9 raptures, but 9 parts to each harvest. A first fruits, a main harvest, and a corners. And it happens for barley, happens for wheat, and it happens for wine and oil. Now, barley comes first. You can go look at the Hebrew calendar. Barley's first. The second barley's done, which is right here, over here on first Pentecost, which now moves to June 16th because of those 10 days. I just went ahead and added 10 days in my mind to every one of these times, all the way up until here, when it all ends. This is when Jubilees end on September the 15th. So we're 10 days ahead. June 16th is the first day of summer. I know. You see that it is the longest day is June 21st, but that's not when it enters into the 23.5 degree mark and stays in the 23.5 degree mark for 2 weeks, and then comes out of the 23.5 mark on, I think it's June 30th. For 14 days, it's in that, and it begins here. You don't start counting from the middle. You count from the beginning, and it begins here on June 16th. To me, and I'll show you this in a moment, this is the beginning of summer. It's nice and hot out here. Whew. All right. Have I explained the 10 days? All I'm saying is it appears that the 10-day period of time wasn't just meant for the Day of Atonement. It was meant to carry throughout the entire year. So every event that we thought happened, or I thought, many think that happened, Jesus on the cross. Now remember, if we say in the Jubilee year, everything moves 10 days, nothing really moved. We're simply changing the date, okay? Nothing actually moved. So if we start counting from November the 11th, we must count 150 days. What is 140 days after November the 11th? It's March the 30th. What's 10 days later? It is April the 10th. April the 10th is the day that Jesus goes to the upper room. This is the day that he does the wave sheaf offering. It is a Sunday, but everything appears to move 10 days. So I need help. My mind is completely baffled by all of this. I need somebody's help to look at this and help me to understand what I'm looking at. All right, this is what I was showing you. It won't let me move it. Let me move it. Hold on a second. I have to zoom in up here so it brings that down. The 23.5 degree mark is achieved. 23, that's 23.5 is the dotted line, is achieved. You can look here on June 15th. Okay. That in the center of that is June 21st, which is the longest day. This isn't the day we count from, because each season is 90 days plus 1 day to transfer over to a new season. There are 364 days in a year. 360 plus the 4 gates, the 4 hidden days, the 4 kasseys. So this is June 15th, and then you have September the 15th, then you have March the 16th, then you have December the 16th. And each one of these is each one of these, can I move this down? No. Let's see here. What did I do wrong? Why am I able to not do this now? There we go. Each one of these is a watch. Now, David, the watchman, believes that he has discovered that we will go in the first watch. And he believes it's between 8 p.m. and 8:59 p.m. Israel time. I also believe that we're going to go in the first watch, but I believe not only in that time, but I believe we have to go by June 16th or June 15th before nightfall. Could the rapture be on June 15th at 8 p.m., becoming June 16th? If David is right, this is the first watch. It spans from here, from March 17th. It spans 91 days. All of these are 91 days. And it ends. And of course, we have an issue down because our calendar steals 4 minutes a day and adds a day and a quarter each year. But we have an issue down here where I had to add a day to it to make it line back up. It's actually September the 16th. Anyway, first watch. I believe this is the one watch that's not spoken of. When you read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you read about all these watches, but this is the watch that's not spoken of. It's the first watch, and that's what David was on to. Okay, so first watch of months, first watch of years, which is the Jubilee year, first watch of time, which is it's either nightfall plus 3 hours, so 6 p.m. to 9, or it's what David said, 8 p.m. to 8:59. He narrowed it down even that much further because he did the work on that, and that's what David is seeing. All right. Let's see here. Okay. How do I get rid of this? Oh, I see. Okay. There, David the Watchman. Please go subscribe to his channel. He says, I believe I just found the hour, and he challenges the rest of us. And I did. I researched this and researched this. I'm like, well, if you found the first watch, then the very last moment of the first watch on my timeline is going to be June the 15th, 16th. All right. God's land down under believes he found the day. And I love this guy right here. He does a wonderful YouTube. He has a wonderful YouTube channel. Please go subscribe to him as well. Remember, the tribulation saints are going to need this information that we're working on. It doesn't matter if David is right, or if Brett is right, or if I'm right. They're going to gravitate towards the one that was. And we've got to get as much information out there because at this point, Amos 3:7 has not been fulfilled. So we've got to get as much information out there as we can. And his video, he shows why he believes it's June 20th to the 22nd. And you'll notice June 21st is the longest day of the year. There is the most daylight on that day. Of course, for me, it reached 23.5. It's a crescendo. It reached the top of it on March the 15th. I'm sorry, June the 15th. So, and it ends on June the 30th. So it does encompass this. But I believe the last day of summer will be June the 15th. I'm sorry, the last day of spring, and summer will begin on June the 16th. And that will begin the second watch, from what I understand. This person right here, please go subscribe to her channel. Amazing. And what I found, and I made comments, she's so very cordial. And I don't like going into other people's YouTube and putting my 2 cents in there because what I said was, and of course she's very cordial, very, very wonderful person, said was, you know, what's amazing to me is the dates that you're finding are dates on my timeline. We're just looking at different events. She says something about March 13th. I forget what it was. Forgive me. Please go watch her video. But for me, that's the day Lazarus got sick. And I'm like, it's just amazing. You finding these days. This is when it all started. It all started when Lazarus got sick. That's when everything began. Jesus is sitting there with his friends, and Lazarus gets sick. That is what initiated everything. From that moment forward, it was a very fast train ride to the cross. It was in lightning speed at that moment. But what does he do? He sits still for 2 days. Why does he sit still for 2 days? His friend is sick, and he even knows now. Nobody else knows, because when the two messengers left, he was sick. By the time they got there 2 days later, he had died, and Jesus knew that. So he got sick on the 13th. The messengers took from the 14th to the 15th to get to Jesus. And on the 16th, Jesus says, on the night of the 15th, Jesus says, he's dead. He's died. Oh, let's sit still for 2 days. It's because it's Rosh Hashanah. Can't move. Now, so yes, she does an amazing. She looks in Stellarium and finds some of the most intriguing correlations between dates, and she has Jesus cross day is April the 6th. I have it as March the 30th. September 11th, 3 BC, she has Jesus being born. I have Jesus being born on September 30th, but she has found the day of creation, which is September the 11th. That's the day of creation. I find it amazing that her math continues to line up with things that I see. So, it's hot out here and my back hurts. Here we are coming up to the time when Jesus performs the wave sheaf offering, and she finds this date. I'm just blown away by it. So, all right, you're all pieces of the puzzle, all of you. Jesus is the head. We're all pieces of the puzzle. The left, this hand, this finger does not know what food tastes like. But if it doesn't feed this, it doesn't get food. It knows that. It has no idea what it tastes like, but it still gives its part, its piece of the puzzle. We're all piece of the puzzle. There's God a minute. He's right there. There's Dig Deeper Ministries. Hey, there's Garrett, the news guy. He's the muscle. Generation 2434, Tyler over there. Everybody has a piece, but we all don't have all the answers. We're to work together, just like I showed you in Truth, Love, Light, how she's finding dates. They mean something to me. They add up to something to me, which I will tell you when I see it. Let's see who else. Joseph Aquaviva, he's in here. 2222. River Rat Heather, she's in here. Watchman River, he's probably the heart. The guy's awesome. Love his videos. I could go on and on. I'm subscribed to over 300 people. You know, David the Watchman, he's in here. He's got a piece of the puzzle. Will over at Worship and Watch has a piece of the puzzle. Tony, he's probably the heart too. Tony over at the Cataclysm, Tony Early. Bite Master, he's doing some phenomenal work. I love his work too. And so just, I mean, all of them. We are the overcomers. You know, I could go on. Dr. Chris Zimmer. I could go on and on. Supernatural by Design. New News, Ross over at New News. Amazing guy. So if anybody tells you that your part or your understanding is not important and that God sent, I mean, I could stand up here and say, God sent me to tell you exactly when the days are. And though I don't know the rapture, this is it. And if you don't believe in me, you know, you're going to be left behind. And that's literally the most reckless, dangerous thing anybody has ever spoken. That is straight from the devil. Your gift is very important, and I love hearing about them in my comments from people, and some of it goes over my head, but some of you, you know, I see this number every day, and they're taking pictures of the sky. Watch, what is it? Watch Woman of the Dragon or something. I can't remember her. I wonder if I can find it. I think it's Watch Woman of the Dragon. But anyway, she finds oh, God's Land Down Under. I can't forget him. Eric Reichman, amazing people. Just all of them are just fantastic. Raw Repent, Dr. Barry, of course. Dr. Barry has a huge, he might have actually two pieces of the puzzle. So, but anyway, let me keep going here. If anybody, like I said, was saying, if anybody's telling you that your piece is silly, don't listen to them. You're going to see how very important your piece was. You said something to somebody somewhere at some point since you became a Christian, and they went off and saved 100 people, 1,000 people because of that one thing you said, and you don't know who they are. You don't know what you said. You have no idea what impact you have, which is why it's so important for us to tell everybody and to get this concept of salvation to grow as big as we possibly can. before the tribulation begins. So don't ever stop. You don't know if you made a comment in on one of my videos that somebody else read and goes, oh, and that sent them off to see something else. And then they started a YouTube and then I promoted them. We have no idea. You have no idea the positive impact you're having. So your piece of the puzzle, why you think it's really tiny, it's a really small piece. It might not be. This little tiny piece might have said something to this entire leg here and saved it. So hang on to what you have, hang on to it. Don't let them take it away from you. You keep going forward. It's very important to me and very important to what the Bible teaches. Let's see. Whoops. The Bible says in Romans 12, 4 through 5, that Christians are all parts of the body of Christ, and that each part has a different role to play in making the body complete. The passage states, just as there are many parts to our body, so it is with Christ's body. We are all parts of it, and it takes every one of us, to make it complete. For we each have different work to do. So we belong to each other, and each needs all others. Do I need to find more biblical evidence that you hold a piece of the puzzle? No matter how small or how great, your little tiny piece might have inspired somebody else who now has saved tens of thousands, and that started with you. It's like a pyramid scheme, right? You don't know who you affected, so don't ever stop. If you're a street preacher and you're standing out there in the corner, you think, man, stay out here day after day, people throwing stuff at me, people mad at me, but you don't know that one person that was driving by while you read a verse out of the Bible and said something. They went home, said, oh, this is it. And then they became, Chuck Missler. You don't know what started Chuck Missler off. Somebody with a piece of puzzle started that man off. And look what he did. Don't stop. You keep going. Don't let anybody steal your crown. It's a phrase from the Bible, Revelations 3:11, which says, behold, I come quickly, hold fast to what you have, that no one may take your crown. In this verse, Jesus is urging believers in Philadelphia to hold onto the truth and their loyalty to him. Some say that the phrase can also mean not letting anyone silence you from proclaiming the word of God. Now, I simply would never do that. I was not sent here by God as an individual. I was sent here as a part of the body to present to you ideals and concepts that maybe Patrick over at End Time Watchman will see these 10 days and go, oh, now what I had found 6 months ago fits. Now I understand. I don't know what it'll do. David the Watchman might run off with something that I stated. And that's why I watch and listen to just an unbelievable amount of videos each day to see if somebody says something that will set me off in a new direction. I want to put this to bed, okay? Once and for all. I've heard this so many times, and I want to put it to bed. We have to use our minds on this. It was not in the 6th month. It says in the 6th month, and everybody's like, oh, that's the 6th month. No, it's not. Read prior to it. Always read the verses around everything that you see. And after those days, his wife Elizabeth conceived and hid herself 5 months. She was hiding herself for 5 months. And what happened in the 6th? Does it say that it was the 5th month here? No, she had hidden herself for 5. Does it say that she conceived on the 1st of the year? No, she just hid herself for 5 months. When did she conceive? Well, the Bible tells us that John was in the womb 6 months old when Mary showed up. So you just count back 6 months. It's that simple. Thus hath the Lord dealt with me in the days wherein he looked on me to take away my reproach among men. And in the 6th month, it's the 6th month of her pregnancy. That's all that is. When the angel Gabriel was sent from God unto the city Galilee named Nazareth. So I just want to dispel that, put that to bed for hopefully for a while. That keeps creeping up, and it's simply not talking about the 6 month. She'd hid herself for 6 months, and the 6 month was when Mary showed up, and the Word became flesh and tabernacled. When was Jesus born? Was he born on the first day of creation on September the 11th? No, that's when he created. He's the one that created everything, uh, and he had no beginning and no end. He could have very well been born on September the 11th, but he wasn't. He was born on September the 29th at nightfall, becoming September the 30th, 933 BC. At probably 9 p.m. Yeah, God likes symmetrics. He likes symmetry. So I would imagine that's when the date and time he was born. The Word, and if you count back 40 weeks, it lands on Christmas Day. I mean, it's that simple. You count back 40 weeks, it lands on Christmas Day. So the Word became flesh and tabernacled amongst us. We look upon his glory, the glory of the one and only, from the Father, full of grace and truth. All right. I wanted to show you this. You'll find this in Leviticus 25:8. And we did this. We did all this work. On the Feast of Trumpets, saying, it didn't happen on the Feast of Trumpets. There's diehard trumpets people. They're just like, it has to be on trumpets. And then there's diehard Pentecost people. It has to be on Pentecost. And when trumpets came and went, we found this, and we said, well, maybe it's 10 more days. And now that Pentecost on my timeline has come and went, maybe it's 10 more days. I don't know. But Pentecost and trumpets are one of the two of the highest watch days in every year. And ironically, they fall approximately, not exactly, they fall about 9 months apart. And I'm going to show you that here in a moment. Thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee, 7 times 7 years, and the space of the 7 Sabbaths of years shall be unto thee 49 years, and then thou shalt cause the trumpet of the Jubilee to sound, and the 10th day of the 7th month. The trumpet of the Jubilee happens on Jubilees on the first day, not the 10th day, except in a Jubilee year. It moves 10 days. I ended it there. I said, well, the rapture didn't occur on the Feast of Atonement, on the Day of Atonements. We moved trumpets 10 days. It didn't happen. So I guess we'll just go back to the regular timeline. But what if it's for the whole year? This is the year of Jubilee. What if God meant that everything moves forward 10 days? And that's why Noah was on the ark for 1 year and 10 days. That's why we would move the timeline forward 10 days. That's why we would see a Pentecost not happen on June the 5th, 6th, which is Jerusalem Day, but moving to 10 days, which ironically, you can see it goes into the 23.5 degree mark, which is the beginning of summer. Earthquakes are going off the chain. So I wanted to show you that. And thou shalt cause the trumpet of the Jubilee to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month. In the day of atonement shall you make the trumpet sound throughout all your land. And you should hallow the 50th year. So again, 2 Jubilees running in tandem, one from creation, one from the fall of man. 7 years apart. We found these verses. Revelation 12, September 24th. You can go look in Stellarium. September 24th, 2017, plus 7 years is what? It's September 24th, which is on my timeline, by the way, atonement of 2024. But the problem is, that's when the baby's born. But there's something that happens just prior to that. How long before? I don't know, but we're trying to figure that out. Before she travailed, before she brought forth, before her pain came, she was delivered of a man-child. Before, now Ross over at New News just made a video incredible. He is associating October 7th with the 9 months. And when does those 9 months end? July 7th. What happens when we're supposed to be born before she delivers, before those 9 months are up? From July 7th, you go back to June 7th, 30 days, nothing happened. But what if we're off by 10 days on that calendar? Remember, If we move those 10 days, then we're here, we're at it. What date is that? June 16th. June 16th. It's 21 days to the day she delivers. Remember, the prince of Persia held him up for 21 days. A lot of this stuff is beginning to fit. Whew. I'm sweating because it's hot and I'm in pain. September 24th, 2024. This is when the Revelation 12 sign will have a complete 7 years. Remember, Noah went into the ark, right? And he sat there for 7 days, which represents 7 years. And then it rained for 40. We have that 7 and 40. Go to September and subtract 80 days, and we land on July 6th. But you go back 21 more days, and you land on July 16th. This is what Ross at New News stated, which I thought was mind-blowing. Look at that. When you count back from the Revelation 12 sign, 80 days, you land on July 6th. When you count forward from when Israel was attacked, you land on July 7th. Ross is stating that this looks like a pregnancy and that the birth should happen right around here. But we go before she travails, and we're now on June 16th. We go before summer. The good son gathers in summer. Gathering is the tribulation saint. We're raptured. We're not gathered. We're gathered previous to summer. Summer begins on June 15th at nightfall, June 16th. 3 weeks, 21 days prior to this. All right. I don't know why I put this back here. Now, what are the tribulation saints going to be saying? The harvest is past. Who's the harvest? We are. The summer is ended, and we are not saved. Well, let's take a look. The bride is barley. We're tossed in the air, chaff blows away. The Jew, I had always thought, since they were in order, that the Jew is wheat, but they're not. The tribulation saint is wheat. They are put through the tribulum. They were put into tribulation. The Jew is the wine and oil. Who's going to be making that statement? What is this? This is summer. It ends on September the 15th. This is also when the Jubilee ends, September the 15th. Let me zoom in. September the 15th. 10 days of all. When does, hold on a second. When does summer end? Right here, on Tishri 1, on trumpets. That's when it ends. That's when the Jubilee ends. When is wine? 10 days later. 10 days later. That's when Jesus was born on Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement. That's wine. Now we're like a combination. We passed wheat, we passed wine, we came around, and we're back at wheat again. Do the tribulation saints go home after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? I don't know. But this is the order in which, and then finally, the Jews will, at the end of the 7 years, will fall on the Day of Atonement. We have the 3 Pentecosts, 1, 2, 3 Pentecosts. They're all 57 days apart. Let's see here. Now, Spinebreaker has been working on this, and he thinks that they have misnamed the 9th of Av. They simply gave it this name, and he's been working. He hasn't found the date yet, but he's been working on it. But recall the story in the Midrash. The Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, the Israelites would dig their own graves and sleep in them every year for 40 years while wandering in the desert. This is because God told them they would be forced to wander in the desert for 4 years, and that the adult generation would die without entering Israel. The Midrash says that Moses commanded the people to dig their own graves and sleep in them on Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av. In case they died before they could dig in the morning, Moses would proclaim, separate yourselves from the living, and the living would rise from their graves, leaving behind the dead. Every single year, they did that for 40 years. All right, let me go back. Maybe that's why I brought this over here. All right. Tisha B'Av, right here. This is the day that 15,000 people a year died in their graves. They dug their own graves on this day, on July 24th. So that's what Spinebreaker's been looking at. I think we're gone before this date. We're already in summer. And I think that we'll be gone before the 9th of Av. But I do think something huge is going to happen on this day. All right. From June 15th, which I think is quite high probability of a rapture, to July 24th, Tisha B'Av, like I just showed you, is 40 days. Now, 7 years from the Revelation 12 sign. And here we are. This is the 40 days of the flood. 40 days will be like a flood to them when we're raptured. And then on Tisha B'Av will be 40 days later. Let's see. Took that picture twice for some reason. He that gathereth in summer is a wise son, but he that sleepeth in the harvest is a son that causeth shame. So gathering again, this word is not rapture. I've shown that 100 times. This word is speaking to the tribulation saint. They are gathered. The Jews are gathered at the end. We're the only ones that are raptured, taken into heaven. From March 17th, I just did some to the day of the flood is 200. I wanted to show you this actually November the 11th, not November the 10th. And there are no more. All righty. So let's stop sharing. Get back to this. Okay. I just wanted to give you a bunch of math and to show you that it's a possibility that June 15th is a high watch day coming up, and why it's symmetric and it fits. It fits that we would go home prior to the birth, which would be in September the 15th, I'm sorry, September the 24th, the Day of Atonement, when the Revelation 12 sign happened. And so we would go home prior to that, being perhaps, and I need to do the math from that, from June 15th to September 20, July. So that's 75 days. It seems to me to be about 75 or 80 days from June 15th to September the 24th in the Revelation 12 sign. So I don't know. I think I showed you that actually earlier, 80 days. So that's pretty cool that all lines up. All right, Repo Man 64, like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you see anything, come into the Discord or make a comment here. It's more difficult to make comments here because I get people complaining that I'm deleting the comments. I'm only deleting comments that are just horrible, that no Christian should be repeating or saying in their Christian walk. And then in Discord, there is this respect for the rooms. You don't go into Patrick's room, start talking about pre-terrorists and starting to promote that concept in his room, you'll be deleted. We respect the rooms and the flow of idea in that room, where they're in that room as a part of the body, trying to help Patrick or trying to help me or trying to help others find things. We have a lot of wonderful people in there who probably don't agree with my timeline. That doesn't matter. It's maybe I said something about those 10 days that they can apply to their timeline. So, all right. Excuse me. I got to get back inside. I'm in so much pain. Repo Man 64. We will, what a way to spend a week's vacation, right? We will chat with you again later. Please subscribe to all those channels I showed you, and we'll chat with you again.